Hello, math friends. Today we are going to continue with learning how to solve an equation where you have the variable on both sides. But for today's lesson, you're going to see some equations where you need to simplify first. So, for example, this equation right here, we have 8 times by, in the parentheses, x plus 2 minus 10 equal to 2 times by, in the parentheses, x plus 4 minus 20. Okay, so when we have an equation that looks like this, before we can solve the equation, before we can get the terms that have the same variable to be on the same side, we actually need to simplify. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and look at the number 8 that's parentheses. So you guys know by now, we've done this a lot. Whenever you have a number in front of a parentheses, it has to get distributed to both of the terms inside the parenthesis. Okay, so the way we're going to solve this equation is we are going to simplify the left side. Then we're going to simplify the right side. Then we're going to solve. Okay, so let's go ahead and simplify the left side. 8 times x is going to be 8x plus 8 times 2 is 16. Then we still have our minus 10. Now from there, we can continue to simplify that left side. You guys can see that positive 16 and negative 10, those are like terms. They're both constants. So we can combine 16 and negative 10 and make that 6. So on the left side, when we simplify, we have 8 times x plus 6 equal to, I don't think purple is such a great color. Let's go ahead and change this. So 8x plus 6. Oh, I really like the purple and black together though. Okay, now let's go ahead and simplify the right side. So we're first going to need to distribute this 2 to both of the terms inside the parenthesis. So 2 times x is going to give us 2x. 2 times 4 is 8. And then we still have our minus 20 that we need to bring down. And then you guys can see that we can continue to simplify this. A positive 8 and a negative 20. We can combine those. So in your calculator, you would put in 8 plus negative 20, and that will give you a negative 12. Okay, now from there, sorry you guys, I need to fix something really quick. This right here is supposed to be a 2. I'm not quite sure how I wrote down an 8. Okay, so just to remind you guys what we did, 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 4 is 8, then we had our minus 20 that we brought down. Then from there, we combined the 8 and the negative 20, and that gave us a negative 12. So now, on our right side, we have 2x minus 12. And on our left side, we have 8x plus 6. So our next step is to get the two terms that have the same variable to be on the same side of the equation. Okay, so we have an 8x here on the left side, and we have a 2x here on the right side. And to get these on the same side, we can either subtract 8x from both sides, or we can subtract 2x from both sides. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just subtract 2x from both sides. Now when we write down what we have left, 8x minus 2x is 6x. Then we have our plus 6 equal to the 2x subtract 2x. That cancels, and we're left with a negative 12. Don't forget to write down the sign that's in front of the term. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn to a new page so we have a little bit more space. I don't want this to get too crowded. So 6 times x plus 6 equals a negative 12. Now from here, this should be getting really easy for you guys at this point. This is just a two-step equation. We're solving for the x. We want to get the x by itself. So we first get rid of the plus 6 by doing a subtract 6 on both sides, which leaves us with 6 times x equal to negative 12 plus negative 6, which is negative 18. Now from there, to get rid of the multiplication of 6, we have to use division. We've got to divide the left side by 6. We've got to divide the right side by 6. So x is equal to negative 18 divided by 6, which is negative 3. Voila, there's our solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at another one of these equations where you have to simplify first. The way that this works is we're going to simplify the left side, then we're going to simplify the right side, then we're going to solve. Okay, so on the left side, we can see that we have a 2 in front of a parenthesis, so that means it needs to get distributed to both of the terms inside the parenthesis. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, then we have our plus 5. We can continue to simplify this expression. Negative 6 plus 5 would be a negative 1. So we have a 2x minus 1 equal to. Now we're going to simplify the right side. So we need to distribute the 4 to both of these terms. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times a negative 6 is a negative 24, and then we have plus 11. So we have a 4x. We can combine this negative 24 and positive 11 and make it negative 13. Now from there, we want to get this term and this term on the same side. So there's two options here. We could subtract 2x from both sides, because that's then going to cancel out this 2x. Or we have another option, and that is to subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, and it doesn't matter which of those options that you choose. Both of those options get the term that has the two terms that have the same variable to be on the same side. So, because I want to be left with something positive, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Now, the thing you have to be careful about here is there's lots of steps. So when you're writing down what you have left, don't forget that because there's a minus sign in front of the 1, it makes it a negative 1. Equal to 4x minus 2x, which is 2x. Then we have our negative 13. So from there, all we have to do now is to solve for the x. So once you get the two terms that have the same variable to be on the same side, then you're just left with a two-step equation. So we're solving for this x. To get the x by itself, we need to get rid of the subtract 13 by adding 13, which gives us 12 equal to 2 times x. I'm going to go ahead and write that where I have a little bit more space. 12 equals 2 times x. And then from there, we would divide by 2 on both sides. So x equals 6. So that's our solution. Okay, so I'm going to do one more example, and then I am going to give you guys a few problems to try on your own. So when we look at this one, this is our third example. Okay, when we look at this third example, we can see on our right side, we can simplify. We need to distribute this 2, and because we have a -3 in front of this parenthesis, we also need to distribute that. So 2 times x is 2x, and then we have to do 2 times 3, which is 6. Okay, and then because there's a minus sign in front of this 3, this gets distributed as a -3 to both of these terms. And this is like having a -1. So -3 times 2 is -6, and -3 times -1x is a positive 3x. (5x plus 3 equals 2x plus 6 minus 6 plus 3x. Okay, you guys can see that we can still simplify on this right side. And we can combine the 2x and the 3x. That would give us 5x. We can combine the positive 6 and the -6, and that would give us 0. So now on the left side, we have 5x plus 3 equal to, on the right side, we have 5x. Now, as we continue to solve here, when we go to get these two terms on the same side, if I subtract 5x from both sides, the thing that's going to happen is I'm going to be left with 3 is equal to 0. And this is not a true statement, is it? Okay. So sometimes this happens when you're solving an equation and you go to get the variable, the two terms that have the same variable on the same side, the variable totally cancels out. And in this case, we're left with a statement that is not true. So there would actually be no solution. Okay, so when you're solving an equation and your variable drops out and you're left with a statement that is not true, then you would say there is no solution. And if we go back up to this step right here, see this step right here? Can you see on the left side we have 5x and we're adding 3 to it, and then on the right side we just have 5x. So you can never plug something in for this variable x and multiply it by 5 and then add 3 to it and have that equal to it when you just multiply by 5. So let's say we have an example like this. If you were to solve this equation, you would need to simplify the left side and then simplify the right side. So to simplify the left side, we multiply both of the terms inside the parenthesis by what's out front, so 4x plus 8 equal to, if we simplify the right side, we're going to multiply both terms inside the parenthesis by what's out front. So 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, and then from there, as we go to get the two terms that have the same variable to be on the same side, the thing that happens is this would cancel out, this would cancel out, and we're left with 8 equals 8. Okay, so when our variable drops out and we're left with a statement that is true, our solution would be all real numbers. Okay, we can plug anything in for the x back at this step, right? Because on both sides, we're multiplying it by 4 and then adding 8. Okay, so if you're solving an equation and your variable drops out and you're left with a statement that is not true, you would say there is no solution. If you're solving an equation and your variable drops out and you're left with a statement that is true, you would say the solution is all real numbers. Okay, so this is the quiz for this lesson. The first question says 3x plus 5 equals 2x minus 6. The second question says negative 3 times by x minus 2 plus 4 equals 2x minus 10. And I am going to add a third question here. And actually, I'll go ahead and add it in white, just like the other ones. Okay, so this is your chance to practice some of these. Okay, so go ahead and do these 3 quiz questions. Turn them into the box so Miss Clore and I can give you some feedback on them. If you get them correct, then you are done with this lesson. Okay? If there's something that you miss on either one or more of these questions, then we will send you a video to watch to help you figure out what you did wrong, and then we will give you some replacement questions. So with that said, I also want to let you know that if you are not sure how to do this, if you're still a little bit confused and you need a little bit more practice before you take your quiz, join us in one of the breakout rooms and we would be happy to help you. In fact, we'd love to. I think it's a really good idea to do that. So at this point, if you want to join us in a breakout room, we can give you some practice problems and then you can come back to your quiz. Talk to you soon.